Hey, what's up, everyone? Renee here, back again with another New York Film Festival press conference, the final press conference from this year's 61st New York Film Festival, and that is for the movie Ferrari. The movie is directed by Michael Mann, who we haven't seen in a minute, now back with his brand new film and starring Adam Driver as the infamous Enzo Ferrari, Penélope Cruz, Shailene Woodley, all in this film. And the great part about this press conference is that we were able to see Adam Driver and Penélope Cruz on stage with Michael Mann, and fellow actor Gabriel Leone also joined them on stage. It was nice to hear Michael Mann talk about the film, and of course, nice to hear from both Adam Driver and Penélope Cruz about their portrayals of their characters within the film. So really awesome to see. And as far as press conferences go, this is the first time outside of the Priscilla press conference where we actually had the stars of the film show up. The movie is distributed by Neon, and I believe Neon does have an interim agreement with SAG-AFTRA to allow the actors of those projects go out there and promote films, especially at festivals like this. And right now, there's a bunch of festivals going on. So I think it was really nice of them to get to that sort of interim agreement and allow them to show up. And of course, as someone who was there under press capacity, and for the rest of the people attending New York Film Festival who will get to see this movie as this evening, the evening of the 13th, Friday the 13th, as the official closing film of the festival. It'll be nice for them to actually have a chance to see Adam Driver and Penélope Cruz and Michael Mann, of course, show up on stage to greet everyone and talk about the film and experience the film with them all for the first time. So really awesome to see all that. So I present to you now the full press conference with Q&A, questions, and all that. Hope you enjoy. And of course, if you want to hear more reports, more reviews of the films from the New York Film Festival, best way to do so is just to make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Make sure that notifications are turned on so that you get to get notified every time a new review or any kind of content or video is posted on the channel. And don't forget, if you like this video and you enjoyed it, help out with the algorithm. All you got to do is just hit that like button so that other like-minded folks like you and I who enjoy this type of content will get to see this and watch it for themselves. Last but not least, before we kick it on to the press conference, gotta pay the bills somehow. So let me talk about real quick this great partner we have here called Surfshark. If you are looking for a great way to unlock the full potential of your streaming services, Surfshark is the perfect service for you. So happy to have Surfshark on board as one of the affiliate partners for the Low-Key Geek channel here. If you're in the market for a new VPN, I highly recommend a company like Surfshark. And trust me, I've tried all of the VPNs out there, and by far Surfshark is the #1 clear-cut winner for me because of many reasons. Yes, of course, it gives you great protection and security protection while you're browsing the internet, especially when you travel and you're in other countries or other states, and you want to make sure your browsing data is, fully secured and no one is like spying in on you or stealing some of your stuff that you're transmitting online. What I mainly use Surfshark for is for unlocking the streaming services that I already pay for. There's no better feeling in knowing that you can get more out of your streaming services by accessing content that is not necessarily readily available for you in your region. What do I mean by that? Well, a great example is that recently I wanted to check out some movies off of Hulu, but I don't subscribe to Hulu. But I found out that in the UK, Hulu movies are shown on Disney Plus. So all I had to do was connect to the UK server there through Surfshark. And then once I was connected, I just logged into Disney Plus and bam, Hulu movies were available and I was able to enjoy it without any issues with quality due to speed because everything was playing perfectly and the audio was coming in crisp and all that. It's as if I was just watching it normally through my normal internet connection. But the main reason why Surfshark is by far the best is because it is the cheapest out there. And I can't stress that enough where, we're all trying to save money here. And with all the stuff that we pay for on a monthly basis, the last thing we need is to add on an additional high monthly payment to our bills, and Surfshark will not hurt your wallet at all. As a matter of fact, if you scan that QR code you see on the screen right now, or you check out the link in the description of this video, you'll find out how you can get Surfshark for 85% off plus 2 additional months for free. Again, I can't speak highly enough about it, and I'm so glad I came across him, and I'm so glad that they decided to partner up with us here. So again, if you are in the market for a VPN, or maybe now you're more interested more so now to check them out for the first time, scan the QR code you see on the screen right now, or check out the link in the description and find out how you can get 85% off plus 2 months for free. Again, thank you so much. And if you do try Surfshark out, let me know what you thought about him when you do, and let me know your thoughts about the service in the comments of this video. Thanks so much to Surfshark for partnering up with us here, and guarantee you won't be sorry with their services. And if you do partake and participate with their services, let me know what you thought about them in the comments of this video. I'd love to hear feedback from all of you guys out there, because I only want to partner up with those companies that will really benefit the audience here. So hopefully you will find a lot of benefits from signing up with Surfshark. All right, all that out of the way, here is the full New York Film Festival press conference of the movie Ferrari with Michael Mann, Adam Driver, Penélope Cruz, and Gabriel Leone. Enjoy. Thanks for watching.
I'm very happy to say that we have several actors with us. First, in the role of Enzo Ferrari, Gabriel Leone. And we also have, in the role of Laura Ferrari, Penelope Cruz. Adam Driver. And please welcome Michael Mann. Thank you to all of you for being with us this morning. I thought I would start with just asking Michael to say a little bit about the origins of the project. I know it's been decades in the, if not in the making, in the thinking.
Right.
And when did you first think about making a film about Ferrari?
We started with Sidney Pollack, myself, and Troy Kennedy Martin, who wrote this, I think, brilliant screenplay. Began it together. I'd known Troy for quite a while beforehand. He wrote some television, Italian Job, a terrific guy. And so it began at that point. What was so interesting to me about it was the compression of all the dynamics of these tempestuous lives in 3 months. Mm-hmm. And to everything about who they were, which was all, it was the exact opposite of a linear biopic. I wouldn't have been interested in a linear biopic. So particularly this drama that you've just seen and its compression, which excited me.
So in the original screenplay, it was this compressed time period. This 3-month period was what the original screenplay was about.
The
screenplay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's based on a book,
yeah.
but it takes a section of the book, and then it evolves way beyond the book. I've known Piero Ferrari for about 25 years. Spent a lot of time, come to know a lot about Lara, about Lena Lardi, her niece, everything about life and molded on to try to get as acculturated into everything Modenese is possible. And what happened over the years is that the more specific one got into that culture and these people and their psyche, I think the more universal the whole picture became.
Yeah, I'd love to hear more about that research process. I think there's a lot of detail in the film, and maybe Adam, you could speak a little bit to that as well in terms of researching a character at this very particular moment in his life. Maybe both Michael and Adam.
Sure. Well, it's everything from biography to understanding who he was at 19, bereft and abject and turned in a rain, turned down by Fiat, with coming to a very romantic decision, which is he asks himself, who shall I be in this world, and decides to become a romantic figure of a race car driver. From that to Adam and I being in Enzo's study, which has been untouched since he died in Piero's house, and looking at his diaries and his handwriting and the watch that he preferred. And so it's everything. It's sensorial input from objects, it's understanding the culture he's in, and having almost a tactile input from all the objects and everything all around us. So.
I mean, that's it. You kind of explained it. You know, it's just information overload, and take the things that apply to you and make sense with the script, and things that aren't. Like he would sign things with purple pens, for example, because he didn't want anyone to duplicate his signature, which to me was really helpful. It just spoke to someone who was really paranoid, and you would read some of these letters that he would write to, you know, kings of Monaco or really established people. He didn't give a shit who they were. He was very, like, you'll get your car when, you know, when I give it to you. And the fact that he built a factory in Modena, of all places, which I understand before him being there was mostly textiles, but being there you totally understand how something like that could be made. You know, why the light is different in Italy in that place than it is in Southern California. Reds are different. The smell of the farm nearby, all of this stuff you kind of take in and then kind of discard things that don't apply to scenes, and sometimes it just goes in subconsciously and it comes out, you know, abstractly in something else, you know. But Michael is very big into internal life, so, you know, I know from playing real people before, again, you take things that help and open up impulses, and you disregard things that don't. But this image of him being by, after his son his brother had died and his father had died, being alone, really having to forge his own path, and it being a catalyst for how he lived the rest of his life was an internal thing that we talked about all the time. And also just the mentality of a racer was something we talked about a lot, which we did by racing Ferraris in Modena and in California, to just understand that it's this myopic, prolonged focus, and how do we duplicate that in playing him, of someone who is very much a duck, you know, he's calm on the surface and furiously paddling underneath, and there's all of these pitfalls that are happening with, you know, the discovery of Lena with Laura, and the company going under, and technology changing the game of racing, and him taking in all of that information and still trying to stay focused on what he's trying to do.
Can you say, sorry, Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, Adam touched on his paranoia and his defensiveness, which is particularly Moden's attitude, which has, for example, when he goes out a biography, it's called My Terrible Joy. It's not just by joy, it's by terrible joy. Because no matter whatever good thing is happening, something really horrible is around the corner and somebody's trying to appropriate it from you. And you know, that's just kind of a standing attitude.
Adam talked about.
He said one of the GEEK books he said, you know, Italy will forgive murderers, it will forgive thieves, what it won't forgive is success.
Adam talked about trying to just inhabit the mentality, the mindset of a racer, of racing. And I'm wondering if you could talk a little, Michael, you can say a little bit more about that. Like, how would you describe it? And I guess, how close is it to filmmaking?
How close is
it to filmmaking? The mindset one has to be in.
Well, I think it's close to. I think it's close to everything aspirational. I mean, there is the unique harmony when you and the machine become one, and when you get very, very good and very adept, and you're not thinking of where you are at a moment in time in the track. You're thinking one or two turns ahead, and you're just thinking of what's going to happen, and you're downshifting exactly the same point. You're turning in and braking, and it's like flow. It's like an 11-year-old's dream of flying, and it has that unified thing. It becomes very addictive. Some very brusque men like Jean Bérat, who drives the Maserati in the beginning, described it, and the only time he ever uses florid language, he called it an ecstasy and foolish. He was at that turn where Castellotti gets killed and observed it and wrote about it. That's how we know what happened. Castellotti, that he missed a shift from fourth to third and wound up getting killed. So, you know, that it's addicted to something that's aspirational, and I think it's a very human value, and it's universal in the sense that we try to run faster, further, achieve more, go to the moon, whatever the limits are that are in front of us, we push outwards as a species, and I think it's my own personal theories that racing is, you know, part of that.
Penelope, I wanted to bring you in. Adam talked about the importance of internal life, and I'm curious to hear you say a bit about how you approach this character and this performance. I mean, there's such a fury and an intensity to many of your scenes.
So for me, it's very important to have that time. It's even more important than the time when you're shooting, to have real time. Sometimes it's by yourself, doing that investigation of getting close, getting to really understand who that being is. There is like added responsibility when you are playing a real person. And the world didn't know a lot about Laura Ferrari, but I was very lucky having Michael introducing me to a lot of people that really knew her and really knew Enzo. Spending time in Modena with those people, seeing the house where they lived, seeing her bedroom. There were a lot of details even in the decoration, a lot of details in the atmosphere that explain like the kind of deep depression that she was in after losing Dino. I was very lucky to be introduced to the doctor that she and Enzo shared, and he got really close to them. He was one of their best friends. So I think Enzo was a big hypochondriac, and he would need to see the doctor at least twice a week, and also became very good friends. But this doctor gave me very crucial information and shared with me some love letters. He had copies of those love letters, like even from the times when everything was kind of broken and they had already lost Dino, but there was still a very big love there and respect, but also probably both of them knowing that they would never recover from what happened. But for many reasons it was worth it for them to stay together. And I think the number one reason is that there was still a real love. Not comfortable love, not easy, but I think they both had a great respect for each other, and also he had respect for what she did for the company from the beginning, because this is not in the movie, but it really touched my heart when Michael shared with me that at the beginning she sold like a very, very expensive bag that she had, and when Enzo was going to begin everything, she put that money there. So in a way, she was one of the first investors in the movie with him, and also he really valued her ideas and the eagle eye that she had to know when people were lying. So I'm not saying that was the only reason why they stayed together, but there was also a big real love and huge amount of pain, and those letters were very important for me to understand who this woman was and also who he was.
Gabriel, I wanted to bring you into this. I assume that of everyone on stage, you did the most driving. Right?
Definitely. Sorry. Yes.
Can you tell us about that experience? Actually, maybe, I don't know, maybe Michael, you should talk about the cars first.
Please.
Just making the cars for the film, recreating
Right.
these cars, and also, I guess I'm curious about how dangerous it actually felt for the actors to.
Well, everybody. I wanted everybody to have an experience of driving these cars on a racetrack, and so everybody went through unless they did it before, like Patrick Dempsey, who's had a couple of podium finishes at Le Mans and drives professionally. everybody had, race car driving 101 and drove these cars, on the track that we had in Modena, as well as, and I spending some time in Southern California doing the same thing. And the car that Behrad drives is actual. That's an actual Maserati single-seater that's owned by Nick Mason, Pink Floyd drummer, who he races in historical races. Everything else we recreated, and it was a very, very complex engineering operation. They had to be absolutely perfect and built in a CAD computer, which they were, and they had to be safe, reliable, and go about 140, 150 miles an hour. So, and so a lot of the actors are doing a lot of driving in the picture.
Yes, for me it was pretty important to have the driving experience before shooting. I think for a month or more, we were on the track with professional stunt drivers, and I said that yesterday. When I learned how to drive, I think it's the same for anyone. You learn to drive, how to drive defensively, to drive on the city with lights and at least trying to respect the others. And when you are racing, you're on a racetrack, you have a different mindset. So for me, having the opportunity to experience that was crucial for the character, because the protagonist wasn't that much skilled driving. He was a sportman. He did all the kinds of sport you can imagine. He went to the Olympics with the Spanish team for bobsled, I think for the first time, and the Winter's Olympic. And he was like a guy that loved more than anything. He loved adrenaline, and I do think that's why he entered the Formula One world. That's why he bought a Ferrari. That's why he went to see Ferrari and asked to drive for him. So for me, it was really, really important to have the experience on the track, driving, really driving those cars and changing this mindset from driving defensively, of course, with all the support of the stunts, but just feeling more what a racing driver feels when you are on the track, when you're a little bit closer to danger. So yeah, it was I think was the most important thing for the character.
Adam, you also did some racing as pre-production.
We did a Modena, then in Southern California. Then when they built the chassis of the cars that we're going to use, it was like an open wheel single seater. They didn't put the body on it yet. It was just the chassis where the cameras were going to connect. We drove that on it was like an abandoned airstrip in Modena, and you can really feel how dangerous they are. Obviously versus a contemporary Ferrari. The goal was to get thrown from the car because that was considered more safe than to be locked in this, moving coffin. I'm just making up some shit to say. I should say
Which he does all the time.
Which movie is this for? and you also, they didn't have seat belts, so I wanted to say that not out of like a negligence, it just wasn't part of the culture. It was really an afterthought.
There was a theory that you were better off being thrown from the car. Ferrari refers to two of his friends who got killed on the same day, Campari and Bozzacchini. In fact, the mausoleum we shoot is the actual family's mausoleum. That's the real place. And right 100 feet down the road out of the grave, mausoleums for Campari and Bozzacchini were both killed. So the idea was you'd rather be thrown from the car than dragged by the car. So that's why they didn't wear seatbelts. But what Leone's touching on is a real kind of something anachronistic to us, which is why did people fight to get a seat in a Ferrari when the mortality rate was so high? The spring team that we see assembled, half of them were dead by the end of 1958. Peter Collins died in 58, so did Mike Hawthorne. There was another driver, Musa, who also was killed in 58. And as that's that racing, the racer mentality is so important to understand that about Enzo and what drives him. Which he articulates in the second Catalino scene. It'll never happen to me, it happens to my friend, I'm gonna give up driving on Sunday, back in the car by the next weekend. And there's a critical understanding to that, which is why we shot the black and white footage. So we wanted to establish that Enzo is a racer or a race car driver mentality. He's not a businessman with a manufacturing company. So.
And also, I guess, to explain how he's, again, we were talking about a lot is being pre-psychology, why he's come up with his own kind of coping mechanism to deal with all of that danger and still proceed, how he feels he needs to, and by building a wall to stop, just not get in his own way from going as fast as he wanted to go. His self-made coping mechanism. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, and Laura is as much a part of this life as Enzo is. One of the in going into the background of Laura and her biography, she was known as the Donna Buffa, the card when Enzo met her as she was singing at cabarets in the 1920s in Turin, and as he writes in his autobiography, he fell head over heels in love with her, a vivacious woman. And they built this together. She pawned some of this, is all backstory, but it's important to all of us on stage here. She pawned wedding gifts that he gave her to help buy the components to build the first car, because they got an order and a 10% deposit, didn't have the money to actually build the car. And then within 6 races, that first car won a Grand Prix, and then they won the World Championship within 5 years. So.
I'm just going to ask one more, and then we'll open it up to the audience. I was wondering if you could speak, Michael, and also the actors, to what you see as the significance of the opera scene in the film. I was watching your Venice press conference, and you described the film a couple of times as operatic. So I'm curious about what that means to you, and also the use of the opera.
The opera scene for me, there's 2 scenes in the film that bring back a really important backstory and colliding into the present tense of the film. The second one is we refer to as scene 170. It's when Enzo and Laura get into this argument, and we realize his self-recrimination. The great engineer, okay, that scene. The first one is the opera scene, and it was what I loved about that scene is that the whole sequence is that it dimensionalizes these people, including Alvisa, her son, Enzo's older brother, going off to war and never coming back. Enzo's brother and father died in the same year, and Laura recalling when they were young and living in a one-room apartment and with Dino, the charisma, the joy of life that Enzo expressed. Lena Lardy, with the moment she tells him in the bombed out rooms of the factory in 1945 that she's pregnant. But larger than that, opera is in the blood, the lifeblood of Modena. Paparotti is from Modena. The Storky is the actual Storky. It really is next door. You really can't hear the opera through the walls into the Ferrari house. That really is the Ferrari house next door. the Comunale, which is right around the corner, is where Pavarotti began. And Modena had 2 football teams, 2 race car manufacturers, and 2 opera companies. And an opera was a cross-class event. Everybody went to the opera. The same people went to the football, fans went to the opera. And for tenor to know, he heard about it from the audience. So it's a very raw, vital, expression, over large expression of emotion. We sit back as audience, it wafts across us and brings and generates memory, sensory memory within us, and that's the way opera works. There's also another irony to open into, which has to do with that aria and Traviata and also the lives of Enzo Ferrari.
I don't know if either Adam or Penelope wanted to add to that.
For me, it was a very emotional scene to shoot because, Michael just left the music playing and just go into your own travel with your imagination about the good moments that you had together as a couple and with Dino, and left the camera rolling for, 20, 30 minutes, and it was like a very important moment for me, where I also discovered a lot of things about her. And also, once again, there is an event that changes even more her life. I'm discovering that there is a new family, that he has another son. Now she has to get strength from, I don't know where, but she gets it. But it's a very hard thing to deal with when you are already in such a state of pain and sadness and desperation, to see that there was more and you didn't know. And maybe you are one of the few people around in your environment that doesn't know about this reality that your husband is having actually another whole family. So it's a very, very important scene for that reason. A scene with no dialogue, but that says so much.
All right, we'll take a few questions. We'll start here in front row. Michael.
Thank you for coming. Michael, I wanted to ask you that your characters are typically very methodical and have to go through a lot of information to find their way through chaos to get what they want. And I was wondering, when you're dealing with production and all the factors of doing that, do you have any axioms or sayings to help you through that?
I guess the question is about your methodical characters, and about whether you have any sort of axioms or that you use to get through production.
Well, every one of us has ambitions are all complex, and directing a film about a character, I truly believe you should, an actor coming into character, they dedicate themselves to believing they are that person, and that begins with being able to do what that character does for real in life. And I believe audiences are quite brilliant. We're perceptually smarter than we even realize. We pick up everything. And if something isn't complete, it lacks a truth-telling style, if you like, or a vibe. Audiences know it. They then are removed from being in the film, and now they're just observing it. And I want audiences not as observers. I want them engaged, just like I want to be engaged. And I've come to believe that that is an accumulation of actionable, not gratuitous, but actionable, method and detail. And Jimmy Kahn, he really can open a safe. And Adam really can run a car company. This is and Laura, who is a CFO and is a forceful, So all of and we do this work, and it's not work. I mean, we're probably all the same school, saying, why would you want to do it any other way except do the deep dive? So we do it.
to, all right, over there.
You mentioned that Modena has a history in the textile industry, and I was wondering about the clothing. For Enzo, did he have his clothes made in Modena? Did he use any of that local fabrics for his yellow sweaters and his very engineered clothes?
There's a costume question.
I don't know when it is, but George says the costume, when all of us put on clothes, we feel a certain way, and you want to be putting on that period wardrobe, and so that's terribly important. The true richness to me is in being in Penelope, being Lara, and Gabriel being Di Portago, and Anna being Enzo, and the clothes can make you feel a certain way. Color-wise, there's monochrome through this film because it's the importance. If you think about Lara's bedroom, it's all of one color. Enzo's bedroom, when Lara walks into it and Enzo's there, it's all one color, and that's because I want your attention focused on what's happening on these two actors' faces. And Di Portago, we know from a lot of historical pictures, how he dressed. He was described as looking like Marlon Brando from The Wild One when he gets off the train. He's seventh in line for the Spanish throne, but his demeanor was like that. So that was very particularly modeled on the historical Di Portago.
Yeah, right there.
Hi, I wanted to ask about Laura's character, specifically the kind of power that she has towards the end. In a lot of your films, there's this kind of tragic relationship to time, and time is luck. There's some sense in which, at the end, Laura seems to kind of, often it's men who have this kind of tragic relationship to time in your films, but it seems like here, Laura, specifically at the end, when she, offers to use the money in this way, no conditions except. Anyway, I just wondering if you could talk about her in that moment and what kind of power, what kind of sort of responsibility she takes on.
I don't know, Penelope, do you want to address that?
For Michael, right?
For both of you.
So, for me, I think he gave me such a great treasure, with this character that represents so many women in history, and still today in so many places around the world. Is not a minority of women that still are constantly invalidated about what they do and work from the shadows and hiding. And in this case, Laura has a husband that loves her and respects her, even if they're hating each other and almost like literally killing each other, like the first scene in the movie, the presentation of my character. But as I said before, there is a love there is a respect, there is a history, and he really considers her part of this company. Not as trying to be kind to her, no, that he thinks she is important for her to have a voice, to have her eye, to keep watching, to have her watching everybody. There are a lot of things. She was even more involved than what we see here. In some of the books, I found out that she would sleep next to the tires in the races so that nobody would damage them or steal them. And I wish we had that here. But even if the scene is not here, Michael has found a way to transmit all of that, like the heavy weight, the importance that she had in this company, when that for a woman in those years in a place like Italy was like science fiction. So this could have gone in many directions, to tell this story about them. And she could have been just a woman that is very sad, very depressed, they lost a kid, they hate each other, but they love each other. But it's so much more than that. I think he really did wrote and directed in a way that became a beautiful homage to all the women that continue to live in the shadow, you know, of men, and not just of men in general, of our society. And I don't know, I thought it was that when I read it, but then I would see in the set every day with some of his directions that this was really important for Michael to accomplish that. And then I felt so blessed and so lucky that I could have in my hands a character that represents that and that really can be an homage to all the women.
Okay, we're going to have time for one final question. Yeah.
Hi. Just to piggyback off of what you were talking about with Mr. Mann's direction, how much time do you commit any time to doing rehearsals, and if you do, how much of what you have planned in rehearsal changes to on set? And I guess for Adam and for everyone else on stage too, when you're actually on set, you know, like, do you feel like that something has changed because you're actually in the clothes, you're on the set, as opposed to maybe sitting at a round table or in a studio or something?
We do a lot of work in advance of rehearsals, of getting into characters, a certain art, and designing a curriculum that's going to help, you know, bring an actor. We're going to help an actor to bring himself into character, herself into character, and it's different for every actor, by the way. There is no one school. Well, there's every actor comes from a different school, you know. But there's a lot of design of experiences that are going to be meaningful. You know, Adam and I going into the Classic division and having somebody take a V12 engine, a Lampredi engine, turn it upside down and showing us really how this works. It's like looking at the inside of a switch watch. Or Penelope and I going into the bedroom that Laura spent the last year and a half of her life in, never leaving, and seeing this wallpaper that was insane. And it took our breath away, and we knew what was the significance of it. It was like an evocation of who she was in the 1920s, and this was how she was living in the 70s. So it's those kind of things. But then it's also, you know, the history and very complex, sometimes very complicated stuff about the psyche, sociology, the value systems, authority, what are the authority structures culturally, all of that. But in the rehearsals, it's my belief, I never like to take rehearsals to the point where it's something I wish I was shooting. So we always try to stop, you know, and we just kind of sketch it in, because the magic happens. You want the magic to happen on the set, not take 5, 6, or 7, not, you know, 3 weeks earlier. So that's it.
I'm afraid we are out of time, but actually,
We want to hear Adam. And we want to hear
Yes, he does.
Before it speaks for himself.
All right, we do have to wrap it up, and I want to thank all of you for the film and for being with us today.